welcome to the Refined Strength podcast. I am joined by my friend and fellow figure sister, Ashley Lakomowski, aka Fittest Ash Ever, for those of you that don't know. How are you doing today?
Hi guys. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Finally, like we were saying before we started recording, like we finally are making it happen. So today has been really, really good actually. I've had a pretty busy morning, but I feel really good. This week has been kind of off. Not off, but I had started my period and it was like really, really bad. Like I was like, this is gonna
Like
be
that first
rough.
one after where you like did you not have it for a while?
Yeah, it was, I didn't have it for a while and it's my second, so it was like my second cycle after the post prep, thing. And so it was like, whoo, it was one day I was like laid out, like just like I can't move, can't do anything.
You're like,
So
why
I
did I
was
want
like,
this again?
why did I want this? And I'm like, you know what though, it's okay. It's okay. I'll be good. I'm not gonna die.
Yeah,
So
it's only
today
like
I
a
actually
few more
feel
days.
like, huh?
I said it's only like a few more days. You're gonna be
A few more
fine.
days. Yeah, so today I felt very peppy, felt good this morning. I woke up. I've been getting up kind of early in the mornings, so it's like a good routine though. Usually I like will sleep in till 7:30, but this morning I got up around 6, so it's nice.
Nice. And so
Yeah,
tell the listeners just more about you, like who you are. I know like
yeah,
we all know you're a figure pro
yep.
and a model, but like what
Mm.
else about you would you share?
So I guess what about me? Pretty much I love to train. So I got started 2018 was my first show, right? I think before I even got into this world, I was just Ashley. I don't know. I guess my history of work, I guess you could say, is I was always like in sales. I was a bartender for a lot of years, many years. Money was good. I don't know. I guess you could say I'm just love people. Right now, I'm just kind of doing a lot, honestly. I took some time off to where I just don't know. I feel like I accomplished some goals for myself of competing, got to the marker where I was like, okay, I'm good. And now I guess I'm just focusing on other people, like training, starting the whole personal training thing. There's nothing too crazy about me, guys. Like I'm not, I don't know. I wish I had some like really cool things on the side. You know
Hey,
what I
I mean
mean?
like changing lives, that's a pretty cool thing. Being a
Yeah.
pro competitor, that's a cool thing. I
Yeah.
think we like get numbed to that a little bit when we're just in
Yeah.
it all the time and you've
Yeah.
prepped and you've reached like an elite level status.
Mhm.
So like that is pretty cool. You get to
Yeah.
help people, you get to look crazy and cool and
Mhm.
hot. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? You know what's so funny is I was thinking about this the other day. I remember, like elementary school, junior high, how in the yearbook they have like, what do you want to be when you get older,
Yeah.
right? And I've had like a few. One of them was when I wanted to be a teacher. Okay? I wanted to be a first grade teacher. And then one of them was in sixth grade was I want to be a model, right? And so when I was thinking about it, I was like, I didn't turn out like the model like that at that time I wanted to be,
You
right?
thought
Like
you wanted to be.
that I thought I wanted to be. But it's so crazy because when I think about it, it's like I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to help teach something, right? And then I wanted to be a model. And so now it's like, it's crazy. And I look at it, I'm like figure competitor, bodybuilder, but I like to model, right? So the photo shoots and just getting in front of the camera and having fun, I feel like that's such a side of myself that is like more of like sharing creativity and kind of just being in this just like this different person, but I'm not a different person. It's like the side of me that is me, but it's a way of just expressing
Yeah.
in a different way. And so doing that, and then obviously now what I'm doing is, I don't know. I thought about that and I was like, that's crazy because
Yeah, it's like
that's what I'm
really full
living.
circle. You
Yeah.
at that time didn't really know what modeling for you would look like, and you might have even had like would you say you had kind of a limited belief of like, oh, I'll probably never get there because modeling is like that's not my body type, or what did you think back then?
I always thought it wasn't my body type because I was always still like more like athletic build. Like, um, I mean, I wasn't like short, but I wasn't tall, but I wasn't like the long slender. And, I was still like very sporty, little body, late bloomer, which I guess most models, I guess you could say, are just kind of, you know what I mean, just there. But I would say that I was just always more, I always tell Mike, my husband, I'm always like, I was a tomboy. And he was like, you weren't a tomboy, you were a girly girl. And I was like, well, I don't know. I just always hung out with boys and I always wanted to just be outside and play outdoors and just, I still had my Barbies and stuff, but I was always just very just active, right? So like, I always thought of myself as like, I don't know, still like an athlete even then, you know what I mean? Even though I wasn't in, sports like that, like
So you
growing
didn't
up in
play sports
school.
growing up?
Didn't play sports. I tried out for the softball team. Well, actually, I actually tried out, this is funny, but this is so not me, is that I went to cheerleading camp. And I remember I wanted to be a flyer. And they were like, no, like, you're going to be a base. Like, you'd be really good as a base. And I was like, I don't want to be the base. So I quit. Isn't that so stupid? But
Yeah,
it's
like
like,
no, it's just not gonna work.
yeah, I know. When you think about it, like, hey, that was a good spot. That meant like I was bigger, I was strong, I could lift these girls up, you know. But then I was like, no, I don't want to do that, Tried out for the softball team, didn't make it. She was like, give it another year, honey, and come back. And I was like, nah. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, so my thing, and it was also free, was theater, right? So I always took theater, always into the acting. So I think that's kind of where like,
The
being in front
creativity
of the,
comes.
yeah, yeah, I always loved it. My best friend growing up, he was in like film. So like we would make videos together. He would like shoot me and do things like that. So it just kind of was always, something I always kind of was still drawn into and was always kind of part of me of doing something like that.
And then what got you into deciding to compete? Because I also had a big theater background, and what got me
Yeah.
bodybuilding was I just wanted to be in better shape for the show that I was in, and then I
hmm
just like it kind of morphed on from there. So how did you get into bodybuilding?
So I actually got into it. I would go to like previously before I got into bodybuilding, like I would go to the gym, I'd go do cardio, kind of like lift some weights. I'd watch just like do my own little thing, almost like aerobics type stuff. And I got into it from my husband. So Mike, when I met him, his whole background, his dad is bodybuilder, was competing like 20 something years, and then his brother was a natural competitor as well. So Mike did not at the time, but he trained, like he loved to train. He just grew up in it. So when I met him, I remember thinking like, well, that's cool. Like that's really cool that your dad does that. Like your brother does that. Like I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like seeing his brother, the way like he would plan out his meals and kind of just his very like vigorous like daily routine, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. And then I don't know, just watching it, I really had a lot of respect for it. I thought it was really cool. And I think that at that time was the same thing. I just wanted to feel better about like my physique. I wanted to look better. I ultimately, when I think about it, I got into it just for training purposes, right? I never thought I was going to compete. Even though you could say, hey, my background is theater and being in front of the camera, you would think, oh my gosh, I would want to be on stage in this light, right? But when I looked at it, it was like the scariest thing. I was like, I could never picture myself on stage getting judged on my body. Like, I just want to train and look good. I
Yeah.
just want to feel better about myself. And so when we moved to Texas, because we were originally in Michigan, so for you guys that don't know, I was born and raised in California, lived there till I was about 15. Then my mom and we moved to Michigan because that's where my family is originally from. So I moved to Michigan, then I kind of moved all over the place. And then I ended up moving back to Michigan when I was like 24, 20, 23. And so I ended up meeting Mike. And so I know I'm kind of going off topic, but it's just
No,
kind
that's
of a
okay.
little, it's a little quick ordeal of how we got to Texas and how
Yeah.
it kind of got started. But so met Mike in Michigan when I moved there. And for you guys that don't know or you don't know Rachel, but Mike is so he's a recovering heroin addict. So when we met, it was about 3 years we were in Michigan. He ended up finding a rehab in Houston, Texas. So he ended up coming back. We ended up, he was saved. He was like, hey, how would you want to start somewhere new? And I was like, okay, like I'm down. Like I'm used to kind of,
Moving around. Yeah.
moving around. So I was just used to it. So, he's like, we can start somewhere fresh, more opportunity. And I was like, I'm down. So I moved to Houston, lived there for about a year. And that's when it was like, hey, Ash, like, and I think for me, Mikey was newly sober, right? I think during this time, my thing for me was always being in a relationship in the sense of kind of not that I didn't take care of myself, but I didn't put myself first in things that maybe I wanted to do, but I also wasn't sure. I wasn't sure like what I wanted to do, what was going to be my career, what was I didn't know. And so I think when we got into training, it was like, okay, this is a new goal. This is something for me to build confidence, have a routine, just work towards something. And so Houston, obviously Texas was like new start. So new start, here we go. Let's do this. And it just started from there. And then within 6 months, my physique looked really like, I was like, oh my gosh, like I look really good. Like I was like pretty impressed, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And I had a couple people ask me, hey, like, do you compete? And I was like, in what? You know, bodybuilding. I was like, no, I don't think I could get on stage and do that, you know. And it just kind of, then it left that idea in my mind where I was like, huh, maybe I could. I don't know. Maybe I should just shoot for it.
Yeah.
Let's just try it, you know? So, that was when I was like, okay, let's work towards the Dallas Europa was my first show in 2018. And oh my God, it's hilarious. I mean, it looks great, but it's so funny, right? To go back and look at like
seeing the trajectory of like where you started.
yeah.
So that was 2018. You did your first show, right?
Yep.
And then you got your pro card in 2020, right?
Yep. 2020. Yep.
You won
Nationals.
the overall
Yeah.
at USA's or
It was nationals at
nationals.
that time.
That's right.
Yeah, at that time it was in Florida because now it's in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Florida, but that was the year of COVID.
Yeah.
That was COVID year, and it
So did
was
you prep for the whole year that year, like everyone else?
yes, it was so brutal, right? It's so freaking brutal.
Yeah.
I
So
was
what
just
made you
emancipated.
decide, like, so quickly from going, you went from, I don't know, I don't think I could ever do that, to then competing in 2018, to then only 2 years later competing and going for your pro card and winning the overall. So what really do you think was the biggest change that went from like kind of uninterested to I'm going to be a professional in this?
I think ultimately it was looking at myself and seeing something more in myself for the first time. Okay, I have the potential to do something really cool here for myself. And it's obviously I have people in my corner to help me and guide me. I have people to push me that love me that can see that I can do really well. But it was for the first time that I actually had seen myself being able to actually work towards something and actually actually finish and achieve goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was more of just like this drive where it was just like this like path where it was like, okay, I'm on this path and I'm going to roll with it here. You know what I mean? I'm going to give my all to it. You know? So I think ultimately it was really just seeing myself in a different light and seeing that I had already within 6 months, seen my body change with the work that I put in for 6 months, day in, day out. Like, and then, hey, why not another more? Why not another more? Let's try to reach that. That ultimate goal. And then after, like, you have your little hiccups and, my third national show at USA's, that's when I was like, okay, because I had gotten my first national show was third place. Then, wait, no, those were my two. I did two. I did Junior Nats in Chicago. I got third place. And then 6 weeks later, I did USA's and I got third place. And I was like, okay, this is a sign I need to work. In my head, I knew that my posing was so bad, like it was off. Like I was hurting my physique. And I was like, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen again. And nothing against the girls that beat me. They looked fabulous. But I knew that my physique was ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just,
you
knew
can't
it.
present it. It's just the judges can't see it.
It's dog crap. Looks like dog crap, That's really, and I remember thinking like, oh,
Yeah,
but I was
I've
like,
seen it
that's
happen.
okay.
It sucks.
Yeah. So then that was like my next, where I was like, okay, it lit some fire under my ass. And I was like, okay, like that's not going to happen again. I'm not going to lose like that. I'm not going to do it like that. So then that's when that all happened. And I was like, I'm coming for it and I'm coming for overall. That was like in my head, but it was just like, I said it. I was like, I'm coming for overall. I'm going to take that. I'm not going to just win my pro card. I want to win overall. And it happened. I was like, when how you're going to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
You just
Do
know
you
it.
feel like what do you think about the power of manifestation and that type of just like an overall is a big goal, especially at a national show? Obviously,
Yeah.
you had a little bit of proof that you were worthy of at least a win because you had gotten third place twice in a row at really competitive shows. But what do you think about that? And how do you feel like that changed things for you?
I don't know. I just think ultimately, like I think each person is different, right? And I think that like you still have to think like logically, like, okay, can I do this? Like, do I have the physique for it? Do I need more muscle? Do I have more time? And I think at that time I was just so confident in myself that I knew that I had A, B, and C, like,
Mhm.
so for me, it was like what was challenging was, yes, the mind, right? So it was more of like I had to truly believe that I could do this, and I did. And I felt like for me, like, my belief is, spiritual, like every day, like during that time of going for the show, I would pray, like, I would just pray constantly, like, Lord, give me the strength, give me the energy. Like, if this is for me, then you will make this happen for me. And
Mhm.
so I think in those days, even when it was challenging, when shows were being canceled and then pulling back, I still had my mindset still would just, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You
But
knew
I
it was
felt like it was kind of like, I don't know, for me in those moments where it's very challenging, it's like I just have to have faith.
Mhm.
But I also knew that I had, like I said, I knew that like I had what it took. I
Yeah.
just,
You have to have
I just,
both. You
you
have to
have to
have
have
the
both.
logic and the proof. And I know that these things are true. I'm not delusional, like truly delusional, but then
Yeah,
you do have to be like a little delusional at the same time and know like I can do
exactly.
this. I can get an overall at NPC Nationals, which is huge. And
Yeah,
it's having that faith.
yeah.
So how has that transformed since then as a pro?
I feel like definitely, excuse me, I think definitely competing, obviously in the pro stage is very different, right? Very different. And I think that over time, I feel like each year in my life has been so different, right? So I feel like our life is different each year and we change our perspective on things. And I think that going through things changed me in a sense of, so like for my pro debut, right? Like I was planning for that. Like I had so much expectations, right? And I think that's the one thing I will say is that we can't have so much expectations, right? Because then it's like, at least for me, I feel like I'll put too much on myself. Like, okay, like you got to do good. Like, I want to be better, but I also want to be like perfect.
Hmm.
And, obviously, so 4 weeks before my pro debut, my brother-in-law passed away and
Yeah.
we got the call and that really changed. That really like effed me. It just
Yeah.
really, I had to be there for my husband, be there for my family, but it just was like really, really hard. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to push through this prep. I've already gone this far. I'm going to do the show for him because he had competed and loved bodybuilding. So it was something to be for him. But I felt like that's where it kind of changed my mindset. It almost, the way that I was going, it like after that, after nationals and then having the time off to prepare for the pro stage, I was just like driven in the sense of like, okay. But then you have those things that happen in life, right? That can really kind of alter things in your mind and change things. And I think for me, naturally, it really affected me on stage, even though like I thought, oh, it'll be fine. It affected everything. And for me,
Yeah.
it's like my nervous system. Naturally, I'm super sensitive. I'm just sensitive to those things. And I think that's where I can have issues where, I can get too into things where I don't know, it changes the way that I perceive things at times. And obviously you could say, well, in that moment, like Ashley, like, but it really just, I don't know. I was like, after that, I was like, I don't know. Like, I still did very well in my pro debut, and people were like, Ashley, like, and I'm like, I know, just myself. And after that, I don't know. I think that like I had a different outlook on things, like because I had achieved. It's like my achievement was to get my pro card, right?
Hmm.
And to win that show. But then it's like your goals become, I don't know, they
Harder,
become
scarier.
harder.
Yeah, the pro stage is no joke.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it really like it just kind of took me for a spin, honestly.
Yeah.
And then my body, I don't know, it's just after that it was like, I don't know, you question things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had the experience of getting to the pro stage for the first few times was really eye-opening for me too. Like I did not do well in my pro debut. and and it was hard, and I think it wasn't that I didn't know what I was getting myself into necessarily, but I just didn't quite understand what level it was at, and also just like I didn't have the right people in my corner. And
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of put blinders on in prep. That's a normal thing that we do to just stay focused and grind and continue on, but that can make us lose sight of some things that are more important, whether it's more
Mm-hmm.
important than bodybuilding as a whole or just some things that are important for your success in bodybuilding and your health at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, every season and every year for me has also changed a lot of that, and just like change what I find as important, change what I think I need to focus on or think about or even consume, not consume. You see the change in yourself when you notice like the people around you change
Mm-hmm.
and like your environment as well, even down to just like your gym environment. Training at one gym versus another one can just completely change your prep and like how you can show up and how you can train and think and everything. But also, you know, you experienced a really big loss right before that. And we want to believe that it doesn't change things because we've worked all this way, but it does. It changes your
Mm-hmm.
mind and it changes like what you think, what you see as important. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we do need a break, I think, but like the other part of us tells us that like no, you should keep going and you can do this and you can handle it. But in reality, you'd probably really benefit from just a break and more grace that you give yourself
Mm-hmm.
so that you have the time and space to just like figure out what you want to do so that you can then excel at bodybuilding or excel at whatever you want to excel at.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in prep
100%.
this year and you decided to pull out of prep. What was the reasoning behind that, if you don't mind me?
Yeah. So really the reasoning, and to put even like what you said into perspective of like when I think about it, I feel like for me, I always have to take breaks, right? So from like bodybuilding, it was like I still was always working on something. So for instance, like how you seen like Mike and I doing like our photo shoots, and
Yeah.
for a while then I was like, I just need to like create and like do all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
And it was like a part of me that I felt like I needed to like fill, because it's like prep, you're just like locked in. You're like, okay,
Mhm.
bodybuilding, training, da da da. So that was like my way of like kind of getting out, where I was like, okay, like I feel like myself still.
Mhm.
And then kind of having, sorry, when you were saying that, I was like thinking about that. So,
Yeah.
I feel like what you said, it's so good to have just a balance and have time off from
Mhm.
things. Like it's good to live that way, because it's like you become healthier. It's like it's still your healthy version of yourself, to where like, okay, like now we can go back to the board and figure it out. But so the beginning of the year, that was kind of where we were at. And, I was a little bit unsure. I was like, I don't know. I kind of felt like I needed some more time off just to have the break. And, we had been working, traveling still. Like we have our own productions company. Mike's doing the roofing. So we're kind of like all in these different things, and traveling is part of it, right?
Yeah.
So for me, traveling does take a toll, even if it's for fun and work. I just want to be back home and like, okay, I need some like steady ground here. I need to focus on what my goal is. And that was kind of the plan at the beginning of the year. I was like, had the pro run year, had a really good pro run last year. Let's do this again. Worked on some things, found out what I needed in the sense of what worked, what didn't work, right? What I needed to work on. And I was like, okay, this is going to be good. So we were planning the shows, and I would have been like, we needed to start like ASAP, because I wanted to do like earlier shows within the year. And usually I like to start about 20 to 16 weeks out, just because I think it's, for me personally, and I think for a lot of us, it's good to kind of just start and kind of get into it. You know what I mean? Get back into those good habits,
Yeah, not
get
feel
your mind right,
rushed.
not
Like
feel
you have this
rushed.
super pressurized goal that you have to meet.
Exactly. Because then that's where we're like, okay, we're stressed out. We have expectations like, crap, what if something goes wrong in between,
Yeah.
right? So it was about 12 weeks, and like my body was coming in, but I kept on thinking like, I'm not conditioned enough. Like I kept on thinking condition, because that's what I needed to be
That
for
was the
this year.
feedback from last year.
Needed more conditioning. Yeah, I needed more conditioning. And Mikey, my husband, coaches me now. So he kind of wanted to bring me in a little bit, I don't want to say soft, but kind of more full, right? Right. Pittsburgh, we came in, and we had a friend help us, even help us, but he kind of gave his point of view and kind of
This
like,
was
hey, you should,
last year.
yes, when I competed at Pittsburgh, and he was like, you should try this. And Mike was kind of like, he kind of didn't know if it was or not. Like he was like, I don't know, but okay, fine. Right.
Yeah.
He's like, well, maybe he knows something I don't. So we just
Right.
tried it. And it was pulling my water and salt, which
Mm.
that's when I came in and I looked kind of like a water buffalo, you know what I mean?
You
But I will say that I was super confident. I actually was like, I knew that like I was off, but I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let
might
that
as well still
affect,
enjoy it.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like, I was really proud of myself because I was like, just go up there, rock it, who cares? So then the feedback was conditioning. So then New York was that following weekend, drop back down. Like we did exactly what Mikey was like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? So got back down and did really well, right? So we're like, okay, if I can get even more condition than that, then we'll be golden. So in my head, I'm thinking we got to be conditioned, conditioned. Ultimately, let's be conditioned, right? And for me, like what also is one thing too for me is that I really wanted to stay away from anabolics. I kind of come to the point where so the amounts that we've used have always been minimal and they've been for a short period, which is usually prep. During off season, I don't take anything. I'm just like, I guess we could say, so HRT is what I do, but when the anabolics are involved, it's during prep time. And this year I was like up and down about it. I was like, I feel not right about it. I don't feel right about it. I feel like I don't want to put anything inside of me. Like, I want to be more of a natural route, right? So I still kind of was taking Primobolan. And I think that was kind of what I kind of felt like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So my body was responding, but I think that what I ended up finding out is when I got my labs back, my estrogen was super low.
Mm.
And that's known to kind of drop your estrogen levels, right? But I think that I didn't get my labs checked before I started prep, and usually I do.
Hmm.
But I felt good. So like I was like, oh, I'm in a good place, right? I just was like, I'm good. But when I started feeling really, really depressed, like almost just like I felt like just not right. I was like, this isn't cool. Worked like about 10 weeks out, and it was like 10 to 8 weeks out, I think, when I pulled out, and I was like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Like, if I'm gonna have a run here with a couple shows, like this isn't gonna work.
You
This
want it
is
to be
like,
worth it and not feel like you're wasting time. Because that last 10 weeks of prep, if you're having like a 20-week prep, the last
mm-hmm,
10 is like the more intense, right? Like
yeah,
that's when you're really just dialing things in and going and grinding harder, more extremes,
yeah,
usually adding some more drugs too. And
yeah,
so, yeah, I think that's a really great place to kind of do that reassessment mark of and decide like,
mm-hmm,
is this really right? Or should I just take this year off and decide to like give myself the rest that I initially probably needed anyway?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's really kind of what it came down to. And I was like, Mike, if these, we were like, if my labs are like off, like I'm pulling out because I kept on telling him, I was like, towards the end, I was like, yeah, this feels off, Mike. You know what I mean? Like just doesn't feel right. And so then that's when I got it back and my levels were good. It was just my estrogen that was just like, it was low for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My estrogen is usually at a good place. Like naturally, I'm more like, I'm better with higher estrogen, not high, but
Yeah.
we all feel different with different levels. And for
Hmm.
me, like my estrogen, like was just too low for my liking of the way that I felt. I just didn't feel like me. Even though you feel like crap still during prep, but like
It's a
I just
different
felt,
type of feeling. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like you know
I was
that
like,
things are going to be down regulated, but you can still feel good
yeah,
about it. And you know it's for a greater cause because you know whatever you're working towards and whatever's on the other side is going to be really good. Like when you prep for nationals, I'm sure
yeah.
you just felt good. Even though you were tired or hungry or whatever, it's like you still know that you're doing everything right and it's all for a good reason. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's not, then it's not worth it. There's been times
Yeah.
like I wish that I pulled out of my preps in 21 and 20 in 2019 and 2021 like I should have because I had those same types of feelings and I didn't because I just kept like those blinders on and I kept thinking like no, I'm going to get better. It's going to be okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
none of these red flags matter. I'll be okay.
You're like, I gotta keep on pushing.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
good.
Like it's the opposite of what you need.
Yeah. And I feel like as time goes on, right, each time you compete and you go through prep, you go through an off season, it's like you're more aware and you're more in tune with your body. And you know what's right, you know what's wrong, and you're like, I don't know. So I just feel like even as I've gotten older and through this, it's like I feel even more like I just feel so in tune with my body all the time that can I be dead honest with you? I'm so like in tuned that
Mhm.
it's annoying because it's
Yeah.
like I'm so sensitive to
You
like
can't ignore it at that point.
can't ignore it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay. That's why. But I was like, you know what? I really kind of was more on this health factor. I want to be healthy. I want to really project wellness in this sport of not feeling like I have to run myself dry to, earn a better spot, like I feel like how you're saying, taking some time off, you know what I mean, and refocusing and just really prioritizing what is good for Ashley, what is
Mhm.
healthy for me. Like, am I done competing? I've thought about it, right? But at the end of the day, why not give it another shot, but do it differently in the way that I feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
Even though no matter what, it's not like it's not going to be like, it's still like when we think about it, going through dieting deficit. Yeah, it's unhealthy in a way. You're putting your body through so much, but
Yeah.
at least there are things that I can control and I can take away, and not feeling like I have to do these certain things because, you know, this is like what the girls
Because
do,
that's what everyone
or
else does. Yeah.
exactly. So no, I don't need to do that, and this is my story. This is something for me, and not looking at it like everyone else, like I gotta, like, like, let's just try it. Let's try it this
Yeah.
way. So that's just kind of where I'm at. And I'm 37. Mike and I want to have babies. I've always had a healthy, like, even doing competing, like what I'm doing, I've always had the healthy cycles. Like I get my
Mhm.
period back. My labs are always really good, honestly, like from doing all this stuff. It's just, I think now that I know that I'm getting older and I want different things have just changed on what I'm going to do for it.
Yeah. Totally. Well, and I think there's a lot of benefit in, and like there you can gain a lot of success from being in a place where you're doing it the way that you want to do it. You're doing it on
Hmm.
your terms. And when, like you said, when a competitor, especially as a pro, is just seeing what everyone else is doing and they're looking at that and gauging their success or their potential success on what other people are doing, like what drugs they're taking, what they're posting, what they're
Hmm.
doing, what type of cardio, what type of training, like whatever it is, this comparison is so easy for us to do. And that is what I think brings people farther from their goal than the actual work itself, is like the mental turmoil that they put themselves through by going all over the place, wondering like if this is the right thing, coach hopping, being running way too many drugs just to get
Yeah.
to the finish line, when like you can do it without as much of that. You can do
Yeah.
it if you just stay in your lane and stay in your book, because your chapter that you're in now is very different from the chapter that someone else is in. Even if they
Hmm.
look better, pose better, place better, they're doing things differently and you don't have to do things that way. We can learn from people, but it doesn't mean that we have to change everything we're doing and sacrifice who we are, sacrifice our values and our own goals, like having kids or staying feminine or
Hmm.
just whatever it is that our values are.
Yeah.
It's like
100%.
there's a race of like getting to the Olympia. Technically, that's like the logical thing that we're all after as pros, but
Hmm.
there's an Olympia every year. And there's also the
Exactly.
pro shows, and there's like the stage will always be there. And people come back after having kids. They have kids after competing at a high level. You can do whatever you want as long as you focus on your intention and keep strong to your values, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, even seeing Sandra compete, right? I was like, good for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After she had her baby and competing, looking better than ever, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought she looked really good, but that's why I'm always like, the stage will be there for
Mhm.
me. Like, you know what I mean? If it's for me, then it'll
It'll all
happen, you
align.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't put any stress on myself. When people ask me, I'm like, I don't know, but I try not to let the pressures of even seeing things, like, it's just, honestly, I want to see everybody do well, and then when it's my time to compete, then I'm like, okay, focus time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. How have your views of body image and femininity changed as you've gone through your career, especially being as active you are in modeling and art and
Hmm.
creating with Mike?
I think it took me a while at first. I think when I really first started doing it, I think that I think getting into, obviously, training, I had body images, right? Like, I wanted to build something that I felt sexy and confident in, and wanted to build kind of just this more, but I think what it really came down to was just having experience with, I don't know, finding self-belief in myself, you know what I mean? And so it gave me more of this courage and confidence in front of the camera. I think the only time I really had, I think it was probably like the first 3 years of competing and stuff, is where I kind of had this body image, because I was like learning, once you get lean, it's like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? And then once you like feel like you start gaining weight, then you feel this size come back on your body. You're like, oh my gosh, like,
Something's wrong
like
with me.
something's wrong with me. You look at yourself and you're like, oh my God, like I'm bigger. But also I have to remember like, okay, I've built muscle. So like, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit heavier in the off season than what I was before.
Hmm.
And then just kind of, I think at the end of the day, it's like I've always loved like taking care of myself in the sense of like eating better foods. Even like when I wasn't, fit like I am now, I feel like I was still fit in the sense of like I would still watch what I'd eat. I never really had like any kind of eating things, but I will say that getting into competing, getting into bodybuilding, it did give me kind of more of this complex of, for a while there, it's like I didn't want to eat certain foods. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't want to eat this. Like I don't want to feel heavier. Like I want to make sure that I look good in front of the camera. You know what I mean? So, but then when I really looked at it differently, it was more like, hey, I like to eat good. It's okay if I splurge maybe a couple days or even 3 times a week. Like I want to have a good balance
Hmm.
with myself, food. And then I think just being in front of the camera more, it did give me more of like, since I'm not prepping for a show, it's almost like I still have to hold myself accountable being in front of the
Yeah.
camera,
Yeah.
So it almost gave me fun little goals though too, because if I knew that, hey, we're going to go here, in a couple months, it would give me like, okay, let's clean up the diet a bit. We can still be healthy, but I'm not going to be super chiseled, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I actually really like my 9 week and week out look. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I'm still healthy. Like hormones are still good. I still look, you know what I mean? Got like suppleness to myself. So I think that just finding a balance and learning like each year, kind of going through different things, like what worked for me
Yeah.
and just realizing that like I actually like being how I am now versus like being super shredded because I wanted to be shredded for a while there. Like I'm just like, man, I wish I could just like be shredded full time and be able to and be able to like function. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just like it's not realistic. And yeah, you never
No.
see your body the same way again once you've been
Mm-mm,
shredded, once you've been on
mm-mm,
stage, and especially like having all of those photos too. It's like it really puts it into perspective once you do get thicker and you put on some body fat and you put on more muscle, especially as a more muscular division with figure. It's
mm-hmm,
like the more muscle you build, the more it just pushes everything out. And so when you do
mm-hmm.
have body fat, it just feels worse. It feels like bigger and thicker when you have
It
a lot when
does.
you're building. And so like that's been a big just kind of a mind fuck for me as like, wow, I'm actually dense now. Like cuz before I was like I had built the muscle but now I feel dense and just like it's a different way that your body moves and a different way that your body feels with food, with body fat, with everything. And but you're right. It's like if you want to look a certain way and if you want to feel a certain way, but also want to have balance, you have to find out what that balance looks like for you. And it
Mm-hmm,
does take some sacrifices, like you said, like cleaning up your diet when you realize it might have gotten a little bit overly just like
mm-hmm,
excess or excessive, but then also giving yourself just the grace to know that it's okay to have some different foods and not be so strict and so restricted all the time.
mm-hmm,
And just I think for me it's been about, and for a lot of my clients I talk to this about, is judging yourself less for one thing or another. Don't
mm-hmm.
judge yourself quite as harshly for gaining too much extra body fat, but also don't judge yourself for wanting to be more, for being more restrictive if you want to feel a little bit better or look a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's a lot like even like your hormones. Like I've heard from
Hmm.
some girls they're like, well, I feel better when my estrogen's like lower, testosterone's a bit higher, or this is like that. I feel like it's like that. It's like finding your own comfort,
Yeah,
but like
your own
your own,
system.
yeah, your own comfort in your body and where like you're just fitting and really just going through the process of it to find that out instead of like hating it. Just like, okay, this didn't work, or, like for me, I know that personally, like I have to like my inflammation will come from like I noticed even recently I was eating a lot of cheese for a while, right? Like
Yeah.
but we love the stinkier the cheese, the better is
Yeah,
what
like some
we've
charcuterie to get down on. Yeah.
so good. But for me, when I have too much, that's when I just get like I get inflamed, my body, my allergies get worse. That's what
Hmm.
I come to realize. So it's just like finding those different things that are like figuring out like, okay, this didn't work for me. Like I need to take a step back from the cheese, maybe just a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, then my body's like, okay, it's doing its thing. It's working again. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I don't know,
that's
it's
a
just like,
beautiful thing that bodybuilding gives us is the
hmm
self-awareness and body awareness
yes,
of knowing what our body works well on, because you track a lot of data, you track how you feel, biofeedback, your weight, what your measurements are, even you take a lot of pictures, so it tells you. It's like getting blood work without getting blood work, kind
yeah,
of. It's like a version
no,
of just like feedback that you get about your body by tracking data and being really aware of that. When a lot of people just like eat whatever the fuck and they don't know why they don't feel great, or they just think they
exactly.
feel fine but they really don't, because they're constantly bloated or they constantly feel just puffy and they don't know why, and it's because they have
hmm
no like oversight over what they're doing.
Even now, Rachel, like I feel like it's like there's things that have been taken away from me that I thought like, I mean, I enjoyed these certain things that I did,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like drinking wine and like
Mm-hmm.
even going out to social things. And but now it's like when I do those things, like I don't even like it anymore. But it makes me, a part of me almost feels sad because I'm like, man, like I used to enjoy those times, like even drinking
Mm-hmm.
wine and stuff. But when I have a little bit too much, that's when I start to feel like my body feels like, ugh.
Yeah.
And being so in tuned, it's just like it's almost like it's nice to be in tuned and be aware, but it's also like, you know what I mean? It's like bittersweet, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like you can no longer live in this ignorant bliss
Yeah.
place where you don't
hmm
know why you feel bad. Like, cuz now you
hmm
know, like, well, if I drink more than a glass of wine, I'm not going to
Yeah.
feel great, but like wine is really good at the same time. And I used to be
Yeah.
able to do this without feeling like this, but yeah, at the same time you realize like, well, this is how it is. So I can't just think
Yeah.
about what I used to do in the past and wish that I still had that, because that's never going to be the way your life is again.
Yeah. You
How
just
have
accept
you
it.
helped yourself to kind of get over that? It's almost like an entitlement to want to be a certain way that you used to be, but you're not anymore.
I think that it's like just accepting it. Like it is what it is. You know what I mean? And like I can't do these certain things and even like find out how you're saying people in your life, right? I feel like this year and even last year, it's kind of like who are the people in my corner? Who
Mm-hmm.
are the people that I want in my life? Even being around certain people, I feel so like almost just like a black sheep in a sense of like I feel like just kind of like there are certain things and certain people that I'm like I don't really relate to anymore. It's kind of just like and
What's an example of that? Just something that you don't relate to anymore that you used to
more
or used to
like
tolerate.
I don't know, I could even say just, not specifics, but even just like people, like conversations, things we talk about, or like, oh, let's go
Mm-hmm.
do this. And I'm just like, ugh. Like, I'm like in my own world. And I'm just like, I just want to, my few people with me. But I guess example wise, it would just be more just like even conversations that people are having, like things that I would talk about, like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Or I think now, too, specifically, what's been bothering me is like, I've been really like practicing like when people are talking about other people, for
Mm-hmm.
instance.
Yeah.
I think that's a one great example that I could say is that for me, I never was a person that was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, like I
Easy
would
to
just like,
gossip and yeah, talk
yeah,
shit.
like I would just be like, and just kind of stand there. But now I'm like, honestly, like, I don't care and I don't want to hear about that. I don't care about that person. Like, why are we sitting here talking about the situation? Like, I think little things like that are just like, I
You
just
realize you
don't,
don't have the energy for it anymore, because
mm-mm.
before maybe you had enough energy to like at least just kind of be around it, but then
Yes.
you realize at some point in your life, as you grow up into adulthood, and like just
hmm
that you can be selfish with your time and energy, and you can decide like,
hmm
well, I don't really like talking about that, and it doesn't really like give me anything, and it doesn't give you anything, so why are we even talking about it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially in our world, I feel
Yes.
like in
Yeah.
the bodybuilding world, and I know that there's cliques for there's of every career, whatever, but
Hmm.
I think specifically that, and it's like I really have to just separate myself from that because I feel like that's all over, and I just don't care anymore about. I'm just like I don't even care. Like I just want to like be a good person. I want to like stick to what I'm doing. Like I don't know. I just kind of, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
I
absolutely.
guess.
Me and Austin talk about that a lot.
hmm
Just like the way that we feel kind of different sometimes when we just like how we want to spend our time and energy, and like, the bodybuilding can be, it's such a niche sport, and it's like it's so small in the world of just everything.
hmm
And but people who are all in on bodybuilding, who are, maybe they're career bodybuilders, or they just like they put all of their identity into bodybuilding, it's hard to relate to them when I feel like you have more of like a bigger worldview. And if you have values outside of the sport, it does, once you start to show up and authentically as that, and you say those things, you set those boundaries, like, I don't really want to talk about that. It doesn't make sense to talk about.
Yeah.
Or you choose to like only do things that really align with you, like maybe it's not going to as many bodybuilding events, or it's not scrolling as much or looking at the bodybuilding news. Like there's so many bodybuilding news outlets that like people, you look at the comment sections and they're just like
I know.
a whole world in that, and like
It's insane.
it blows my mind that people actually live in that, and
Hmm.
that they spend time going back and forth in comments, or going back
Hmm.
and forth about like gossiping on Reddit or something like that about something that has nothing to do with them.
Hmm. That's why I try not to even get into that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I'm just
oh
gonna
my
do me.
gosh, I'm just gonna do me. You know what I mean? And that's why like I needed a break from, honestly, I felt like everything kind of happened for a reason,
Hmm.
even like towards the end of last year. It was like I had prayed, like, Lord, just take away the things that aren't for me. Like,
Hmm.
help me see, even though maybe I'm not sure right now. You know what I mean? And I felt like He just started slowly taking away things that I felt like I needed at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, even
Yeah.
like my sponsorships and things like that. But the thing is, when I really thought about, like, I wasn't even aligned with those anymore.
Yeah.
I felt like I was becoming someone different and wanted something different. And it's like it just was so aligned to where like I feel like I'm now finally kind of in this growth phase where it's like I'm comfortable, but it's not like Ashley where like I felt like I needed to be on social media so much. For
Hmm.
me personally, it was just too much. Like it was just a burnout, and I was having like a lot of burnouts towards the end of that where I was just like I need to take a break. I need to set myself straight here. I need to kind of like isolate myself for a little bit and
Hmm.
get myself right here because I'm feeling just overwhelmed with everything and
Yeah.
I need to like be good.
Well, and like I think when things get taken away, like you said, you prayed for God to take things away that you weren't
Mm-hmm.
aligned with, and like when He took those things away, it like obviously it showed you all the space you have now. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have more space to just like grow as a person, and grow as a bodybuilder, grow in just like all the areas of your life, because you don't have these other things that weren't even really something you were excited about. It's like if you're not
Mm-hmm.
getting up in the morning and you're excited about this like thing you're sponsored by, or
Yeah,
an event you have to go to or make an appearance at, or posting at this time on social media, then like no one's truly, like nothing's gonna happen when you don't do that thing. And
exactly.
yeah, people talk about like politics and social media and everything when it comes to competing, but at the same time, like if you look good and if you show up with that level of a physique, you're gonna get rewarded. It doesn't matter what
Yep,
your sponsorships are, who your coach is, like any of those things.
exactly. You're right. And everyone thinks that I gotta have this. I mean, if you want sponsorships to help because you financially can't take care of stuff,
Sure.
understandable, sure. But like,
Or if you want that community, I think that can be a really big part of it
agreed.
too. Is just like a lot of sponsorships and companies will have like a really rich culture or a community, and like
Hmm.
people like being a part of that. And I think that's a really beneficial part of bodybuilding, is the
Hmm.
communities that are in it that maybe you can be aligned with, but
Hmm.
that's those
Agreed.
things aren't for everybody either.
Yeah, I would say that community was really good with it, but then it was like, we kind of outgrew each other. So I was like, you
Yeah,
know what I
and that
mean?
happens. Yeah.
And then I find that it's just more, yeah, it's more of a distraction, right? It's more of a
Hmm.
distraction taking you away from like maybe what you're really supposed to be doing and what you're really supposed to be focusing on, right?
Yeah. Have you
So
found that a lot? And like now that you're training more regularly, like does it feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Yeah.
it feels like what happened was I was coaching someone and I started training her. I
Hmm.
was like, okay, I'll train her. I just really enjoyed it. I just was like, this is awesome. And I remember thinking like years ago, even training, like how much I love to train. That's where it first started before
Yeah.
competing was
Yeah.
training is where it started. And I felt like this whole time I've been taught, I've been created for this almost like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So
Yeah.
as I started training people, I'm like I love more of intimate, right? So like when you're personal
Hmm.
training, you're training with one person. It's you guys.
Hmm.
It's like a therapy session, but you're
Yeah.
physically exerting yourself, you're learning, you're training, you're doing something you love. And so I felt like when I started doing it with her, I was like, this, I love this. And I could see the change in her and I could see the passion in her. And it was more of like, it was so satisfying for me seeing the other person just feel good about themselves. And it's like, oh my gosh, like it was like, okay, I'm here to teach you. So, like I was telling you earlier, like I wanted to be a teacher
Yeah.
and I want to be models. So for me, when I looked at that, I'm like, I know that I'm good at teaching, I'm good at explaining and being there for people, and I just felt like, what better than doing this? I feel like I'm doing something. I feel like I'm not even working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what's important. Like finding the
Yeah.
thing that you're meant to do. What would be a message that you would give to your younger self? Like maybe 2018 or 2019.
Oh
Not that that was
gosh.
that much younger, but like that was when you were first getting started in this. So what would be
Yeah.
something you would tell her?
I would probably tell her, just trust the process. Trust the process. There's nothing I could change. There's nothing really I could change. I would just say, I would tell her if she could hear me and I was like, it's like a voice in her ear.
Mm.
I'd be like, just keep going, girl. Keep going. Because it's a road ahead and you're going to lead to something even better and you're going to know your purpose.
Yeah.
I'd say
I
that.
agree. Yeah. Yeah, because we can
Yeah.
look back at anything that, we didn't love about our lives, a mistake or an era of our lives, a chapter, whatever, and be like, yeah, it would have been cool if that wasn't something I had to deal with. But at the same time, like all of those things, the good and the bad, they all make us into who we are and they teach us the lessons that I know for me, a lot of the things that like the worst things in my life have helped me become a better coach because
Yep.
they've helped me like help other people avoid those things or help other people
Exactly.
like overcome those things. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So we'll say to our younger girls, just keep on going.
yeah, just keep going.
Keep it going.
You'll understand eventually. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this and I hope that anybody listening to this can just like take that in and recognize the power of the process is the process for a reason and whatever you're going through right now and whatever is like unclear will be clear at some point. So, thank you Ashley. All of
Thanks for having me
Ashley's
on.
info will be down in the show notes, so reach out to her, hype her up, look at her modeling. It's amazing and inspiring.
Thanks,
Um
Rachel.
yeah.
Bye, guys. Bye. See